All right, so I'll be talking about my experience in Cambodia. So I went to Cambodia from 20th to 27 December 2019. So it was a good eye opener and a lot of learning about their culture, history, and the suffering they had to endure until 1992. So there's a lot that I could learn about this country. So I just thought I will take you through the pictures and try to get the visitors to understand the whole culture behind this. So I'll cover my visit to Cambodia in three parts, 2 days in each part because there's so much to learn in Cambodia. So basically, that's the map of Cambodia. So I stayed for 5 nights in Siam Reap. I think the whole historic elements of Cambodia is in this region, Siam Reap, and the capital of Cambodia is Phnom Penh. So I stayed for 2 nights in Phnom Penh. So it is important to appreciate the borders of Cambodia because the whole history, if you look at Cambodia, the glory of Cambodia was influenced by the neighbors, and the destruction or the suffering of Cambodia also was by the neighbors. So the neighbors is mainly the Vietnam to the right. So just remember, I think Vietnam had Champa kings. Okay, so they were also Hindu kings, and on the top there is Laos. So Laos had a lot of Chinese influence, and as you see to the left they had Thailand. So Thailand had a kingdom called Ayutthaya, and sometimes they called as Ayodhya kings. So they were also many of them were of Hindu background. So I mean initially, then they all changed to Buddhism. So basically, the early history of Cambodia started with three Hindu kings, basically Angkor kings in Cambodia, which were waged war by Champa kings by Vietnam, which is currently in Vietnam, and Ayutthaya kings, which right now is in Thailand. So the whole history revolves around these neighbors and the warring factions that happened until till late also. So that's the flag of Cambodia. As you see, they have still highlighted Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is the biggest temple complex in the world. Just the temple complex itself is 1.7 square miles. So and this flag depicting Angkor Wat has remained for a very long time for them. So which means there's a lot of reverence and importance they attach to this.
Oh, I didn't know the flag had it.
So so this is the currency notes. So their lowest currency is 100. So the currency is Rials. So if you want for Indians who go there, I think you can use all the dollars because you don't need rupees, you don't need their local currency. US dollar you can use anywhere and everywhere, including a street vendor will take US dollars, and the change will also be given in US dollars if it's a bigger amount. If it's a very small amount, they'll give it to you back in Rials. So the easiest conversion is 4,000 Rials is 1 US dollars. So if you want to know the Indian if you want to know the Indian rupees, 100 Rials is equal to 1 rupee 75 paisa. So that's the conversion. So the highest denomination they have is 50,000 Rials, followed by 20,000. And if you see most of the notes, they have temple depictions. So as you see, this is Angkor Thom. So this is Angkor Wat. So there's mostly you will see temple depictions. Even on the highest currency, there is a temple depiction. So let's go to day one. I was in Siam Reap. So the day one we went to this national museum. So it's called Angkor National Museum. So it's a huge museum. It is having 3 floors and all the artifacts from the temple. So when you visit any temple site, there won't be any idols like in Hampi or any other place because all those idols were being heavily looted by a lot of people, starting from maybe the French were ruling and all the local people. So most of the idols from there, like even be it Shiva's idol, Ganesh idol, Vishnu idol, they'll all be present in the museum predominantly, but some of them are kept at the sites. So and no photography is allowed within the this museum of any of the idols. So I could only take from the outside. So this was a gallery where 1,000 Buddha images are there. So it really has lots and lots of Buddhas. So the whole room is full of Buddhas. So we are not allowed to take any pictures inside. So this was from the window I took. So you can see few Buddhas inside. So there are all lot of Buddhas made of stone and bronze, which are there in that part. See, if you enter this museum, I think wherever you go in Cambodia, I think this remains the essence of most of their buildings. As you see, there is a Samudra Manthan. So this remains at the core of any of their architectural sites that you visit or any diplomatic buildings you see. So they have paid a lot and lot of importance to this Samudra Manthan. So basically, that way they have identified is it is a tussle between good and evil. So Asuras on one side, Devas on one side. So this what we have believed in, they also believe in, that in life there is always a tussle between good and evil, and good prevails, and the elixir that you get is what you have to relish upon. So I think this concept even today they honor it, respect it, and even if you see the currency notes, there will be this naga. I think they have attached lot and lots of importance to the serpent. And these serpents, like in India, they have attached importance to single head serpent, three-headed serpent, five-headed serpent. That way, if you see any currency note, you'll have a serpent. Even if you go to a king's palace, you'll have a serpent which are there. So these are Asura heads outside the museum. So Devas heads over the other side. So these are all the relics which they have got it from the sites, and they kept it in the museum. It's a huge museum. So you would need at least some 3 to 4 hours to see the whole museum. So there's lots and lots of idols. Maybe 4 hours, and it's a very nicely maintained museum, and they have a nice film shows in between to take you through a little bit of historical tidbits about the significance of each site where they have excavated these idols. So I think this is a some statue which is all these are all during the Hindu times. Okay, so this is just a street picture, and most of the places you would see, I think if people have visited Vietnam or Cambodia, there's a lot of reverence to ancestors. I think their whole science, when I'll be talking about the temples, you'll see they always revere their ancestors, and their prayers is always to the ancestors. Yeah, so what that means is, even during the Hindus when they ruled, the king always constructed temple for the parents and for any of the dear ones, and the tradition has continued when they changed to Buddhism also. So Buddhism constructs something called stupas. So stupas is a place where they put the ashes of all their ancestors, and ashes will be present at the bottom, and the middle level there will be all the clothes that ancestors have used. On the top of it there will be a Buddha. So I think this has been their tradition, and you will see this sort of a places where they have these things where they worship. So this was just a shop where there were a lot of idols. So then that night, I think the night is very vibrant in Siem Reap. There's a lot of foreign visitors who visit. So this was a night market. It's very bright, and lot of people moving around everywhere. So you will see like this night market. So basically, you have a lot of street vendors, and you have a lot of shops that are open till late in the midnight. And so those are the street scenes. So you'll see a lot of foreigners. It's very safe. So Cambodia is absolutely safe. There's absolutely no risk for anything. So it's a very free country. So I think because there were few queries that you would see online that whether it is safe, but it's absolutely safe. So the street has a lot of these ice cream shops. So they are there everywhere. So you get a very nice ice creams. Most of them are fruit based ice creams like mango, banana, and all. So they make like in India what we call as teppanyaki. So they do that rolls and they give it. So it's pretty good, and you get a lot of milkshakes. So these are very popular. They are really there everywhere in Siem Reap. So it's just and there's a lot of painting shops where it's all hand painted thing that you could buy. So they're all very nice actually. So that's my son drinking something. So I'm sure many of you know this durian. So durian is very popular there. It's considered a delicacy, but it's an acquired taste. So Indians, before you venture on tasting, just be wary. But it can be very pungent. So either you like it or you hate it. So even remotely, I tried to taste it with durian ice cream. I didn't like it. So I don't think many of our Indians would like that taste. I think it is something like jackfruit. It's a family of jackfruit, but the smell is really really far-reaching, and it's overwhelming. And you have a lot of this street food is very popular in Cambodia, but generally I would say I think we Indians tend to hesitate to eat the street food because of the hygiene issues. But they claim that street food is the way to go. I had in 2 3 places, but street food is something distinctly different to what you eat in restaurants, is what I was told. So as you see, this is just another place where we saw that Samudra Manthan. What you see, you always see this in form of painting or even in a sculpture, in whatever way the depiction happens. It is always they have put a lot of importance to the Samudra Manthan. So it was Christmas time, so we could see there was Santa Claus put in everywhere. But as I said, Christian presence is very very less. 97% of the population, I'm told, is Buddhist there. So they follow something called Theravada Buddhism, and the rest are all the mixed folk groups, and maybe very small number of Christians and very small number of Muslims. So that night, the first day, we finished the museum and then we went to the circus. So the circus is a very contemporary culture of Cambodia, which had all vanished when the bloody Khmer Rouge rule was there. But now they're trying to revive this whole circus. They have their own traditional circus, and every circus has a theme. So we went to this circus show in that night. So it is like this circular arena, and there are a lot of performers who come. So it's really worth it. So if you are visiting Cambodia, I would recommend that you see the circus, because in circus there are three components. So there is a music, which is their folk music, which is very nice to hear. And as the circus is happening, there will be someone who will be painting, real time painting, and then there will be a story behind the whole theme of the circus. So I think this is the introduction of the circus. So it was based in Battenberg, and this had an NGO sort of a group which does the circus to provide free academic education for underprivileged. The theme of the circus on that day was white gold. So it's a tale about material wealth. So the whole theme was about rice, because I think rice forms the core of their Cambodian culture, because the whole rise of Cambodia happened because of rice. And even during Khmer Rouge, the 3 million deaths that happened was predominantly due to the rice harvestation, where people were pushed into doing rice harvestation under brutal conditions. So rice is something which is very sentimental for them. So this was about the rice and how people can make and break because of the rice, and they call it as a white gold. So that was the theme. So as you see, I think it was a very nice circus. It lasts for 1 hour, and all this they do it real time. So this is all made like a rangoli. They made it with rice, and they do a lot of acrobatics like you would see in reality show. And this is a Apsara dance they perform during circus. So circus is a mix of acrobatics with a storyline that will be going, and with a little bit of storytelling that happens. And as you see, here is the band which keeps playing the local folk music in Cambodia. It's a very nice, pleasant, soothing music that happens on the background, and these people will be enacting. So they keep doing all these sort of acrobatics. This was quite nice. I mean, this was like shaking like crazy, and on the top of the music, this guy was trying to stand. So I thought that was really amazing. And they're really nice people who are doing excellent aerobatics of various things. So, and as you see, that's the painting. I think as you are witnessing them, there will be one person who will be painting, and you will see different paintings that keep happening. So I just have to cancel this. Yeah. So those are all the pictures during the thing. It's just so they're playing with all the rice components and trying to create a storyline out of it. See, this is the painting they created. So as you are watching the circus for 1 hour, this painting is created, the collage sort of a thing, and they put up at the end, and one can buy those painting for whatever social cause, because all the funds that gets generated from this go to helping some poor people for education. So that was the collage of the painting that was created as the circus was happening, and you could see a painter who is drawing all that whilst the circus is happening. So after we finish the circus, obviously it is the food. So you will see there are umpteen number of restaurants in Siem Reap, so providing a lot of delicacies. So like these are some of the restaurants you will see, and it's always meat. I think I was told in Cambodia it's hard to find a vegetarian. Everyone is non-vegetarian. So predominantly they eat fish, chicken, pork. I think beef is, I think it is little less than what you would think. But predominantly fish is what I was told, chicken, pork. These are the main food they eat. Okay, so these are all the restaurants, and then they have this night market which is there till late in the midnight, where you can do a lot of shopping of souvenirs and other things. So this pub street, which is there in Siem Reap, is very popular. So there's a lot of Western people, there's a lot of pubs, and I have to say alcohol is pretty cheap in pub street. It is cheaper than, I mean, it's much cheaper because there's no taxes levied on alcohol. And pub street was quite vibrant. So a lot of lights, and see, you can see a lot of people sitting along having drinks, and alcohol is pretty cheap there. So it's a very vibrant place, and you see, I told you about the ice cream shops. You see, there's so many ice cream shops. So one, two. So the ice cream shops will be literally present few yards away. There'll be some 7 to 8 ice cream shops lined up. So there are that many ice cream shops in that pub street. So, and what you will distinctly see in Cambodia is whichever place you go, you have these people, musicians. As you see, they are little maimed or handicapped. So, they are all war victims. So, they'll be playing a music, folk songs. I think it's a sort of raising money for their living. And most of the busy shopping areas, or even if you go to the historic temple sites, you'll see these people sitting and playing the instrument, and they'll be selling that audio also of it, so to raise money for their whatever survival. So that you would see. So we went to a restaurant called Kamar Idea. So it was rated as a good restaurant. So as you see, I'm having a mojito. So that's my son having a virgin mojito. Very nice restaurants and good drinks. I think if you are a person who would enjoy alcohol, it is tax free and it is very cheap, and you can have amazing cocktails for a very low price. So I think this is a dish we had. Chicken loklok is another one of their commonly eaten dish. So loklok is where it is served with rice. You see a rice there. There is a fried egg, chicken, which is given on lettuce, and they give this sauce of lime, salt, and pepper. So this is called chicken loklok. Very tasty dish, especially this sauce, because the pepper. There is a pepper that Cambodia grows called Kampot pepper, and that is considered one of the best peppers in the world. Kampot. It comes from a place called Kampot. So this sauce has a very distinctive taste. Possibly, I believe it's given by that Kampot pepper. So it's very nice dish to have. And then this is another traditional dish we had that night in Khmer idea. It's called fish amok. So there is a fish. So the popular fish they eat is snakehead fish. So it's not like seer fish or pomfret we eat. Snakehead is their delicacy fish. So I think this fish is cooked in coconut milk and rice, and it is cooked with coconut milk and it is given with rice. So they give it in this like tender coconut, where this fish is cooked with coconut. So something like a Kerala dish, but little sober on the spices. I think Kerala can be little more spicy. This will be little sober, but very nice dish to have. And I think this was a banana, whatever. It's like a kheer. It's very nice. It was very sweet. And we had the sticky rice with mango pudding. So this was also very nice. I think these are the dishes we had that night. Very tasty dishes. So for non-vegetarian, it's a feast, because I think most of the time non-veg is the way to go there. Vegetarian, I think as you would know, even if they give vegetarian, it may have some fish sauce smell. So which is sometimes may not be to the liking of vegetarians. So but these rice puddings are very nice. So they're extremely tasty. So that was about day one. So day one is the day we landed there. So it was a tiring day. So it was a museum, pub street, and the circus. So circus I would recommend to any Indians who is going to see the circus. It's a nice thing, and then you would be contributing something for the social cause. So day two is a very historic visit. We went to Angkor Thom. That was on 21st December. So this is how the landscape in which these temples exist. So it's nice foresty area, full of greenery and lot of water. So it is set, all the temple visits you will see is set up in nice greenery area. So there's a lot of greenery around, and most of the popular ones have lot of water around it. So basically all the temples that existed in Cambodia were conceptualized based on Mount Meru, Mahameru, whatever we Hindus believe in. So they had temples at different levels surrounded by water, because Meru is surrounded by ocean. So every temple by default have moats, and moats will have water. Some of them have dried up, but this was Angkor Thom, which was full of water, and you'll see a lot of greenery around. So you'll see a nice landscape against which all these temples exist. So this was nice water body that was there, and you see there's a lot of lotuses. And I have to just tell you all that there's a lot of emphasis on lotus in Cambodia. I think again relating to our Hindu belief system, if you go to any temple, every temple it will start off with a lotus. I think Meru, if you look at a Mount Meru or Mahameru, it is lotus petals basically. So different levels of lotus petals, and where kings live. I mean, where the gods live. So it is all based on that. So as you see, this whole pond, whatever lake is there, it's full of lotuses there. So you'll see temples like this. But I'll so this is the entrance. This is the grand entrance to Angkor Thom. Angkor Thom was a huge kingdom, about around 17 to 19 square miles, in which in the middle part there is a huge temple called Bayon. So basically the entrance of this is like this. With this is a structure with four faces. So initially people thought it was Brahma, but then obviously when they looked at the architectural inscriptions and they went through the sites with all the inscriptions. So this is called Lokeshwara. Okay, so Lokeshwara is it signifies Buddhism. So they were following Mahayana Buddhism at that time. So this was built during Jayavarman 7 in 12th late 12th century. So 1180 like that. So during that time, Jayavarman 7 got converted to Buddhism because he married a Buddhist lady, Buddhist scholar called Raja Devi, Jayaraja Devi. So and he was a Hindu, but then he changed to Buddhism. And because he changed to Buddhism, he put up this image called Lokeshwara, which has four faces. What they signify is basically overseeing the whole kingdom on all sides with equal importance. And most importantly, and Jayavarman Seven's rule is considered as one of the important. It was a very high point of Angkor Wat reign because he was very compassionate to his subjects, and there was a lot of constructive activities. He built a lot of roads, and the key component about this king was he built around 80 hospitals. There were four hospitals adjoining this central temple, which I will show you. And four faces signify compassion, empathy, love. Compassion is one face, empathy is one face, love and kindness is one face, and equanimity. So, which is I think very essence to even our intensive care practice, isn't it? So I found it this very interesting. But this king really embraced the quality of compassion. So if you see the entrance for this temple, again you have on one side Devas, on the one side Asuras, and you see a snake. As I said, every temple, literally every temple, when you are entering, on each side there will be this significance of a snake, and with Devas. And this is a temple which has a lot of Devas. Some temples will only have a snake. It may be a five-headed serpent. So through and through, you will see emphasis on the snake, the Samudra Manthan, and some of these elements. What we said. So this is the photo picture taken from inside as you are entering. So you can see how the stones are laid in a in a staged way to create the peak there for that face. So that's a Beyond temple. So Beyond temple, Angkor Thom is a city which the king ruled, Jayavarman 7. So that constituted around 20 acres of the land. That was a city basically. In the middle of the city is this Beyond temple. So Beyond temple was built again in 12th century. So this was the king, Jayavarman 7. So he is considered as one of the high point of Angkor kings, and he was born in 1122, and his reign was in 1181 to 1218, during which this temple was constructed. And he had this wife called Jayaraja Devi, who is considered as a Buddhist scholar, and she transformed him to Buddhism. So after she died, he married her elder sister, who was Indra Devi. So that was his life story, and apparently this is how he looked. He looked more like a Buddha, I thought. And I think one of the key elements which was of interest to me was he built 20 hospitals. So he paid lot of importance to giving medical care to his to his people. 20 hospitals, and these 20 hospitals, there are inscriptions on the steel, which because I read that whole book of history of Cambodia by David Chandler, because that is a recommended book. If you go to Cambodia, read about it because you'll appreciate each and everything. So and these 20 hospitals were meant to cater 838 villages, and it treated at that point of time around 8,000 patients. It had the ability to treat that many patients at a time. So this was all inscribed on the steels what they found. So I think that is something relevant to our profession, where he put a lot of emphasis on healthcare. So this is the entrance to the temple. You will see all these lions, which is very typical of our culture, and these are the snakes I said. So this is a whatever multi-headed serpents. Every temple will have these serpents. So So I was also not sure why there was so much emphasis on these serpents. Through and through, you see a lot of emphasis on these serpents. So this is the Beyond Temple. So it has 37. So in photograph, it's how much ever I show in photograph, it's really hard to get the essence of what you see there because it's really gigantic. Because you see it here, you'll think, oh, they're only that man. It has 37 towers with 200 faces of Lokeshwara. Once you enter in that, see, it's very hard for us to capture the depth of it. Once you enter that, it goes, it keeps going on and on and on inside. So there's that much of depth inside. So then so many heads everywhere, and you will see like this, multiple of this. And this is a famous Beyond Temple, which you see on that currency note, which I put on a Facebook. It's on a 20,000 reals. There is this Beyond Temple which is there, and you'll see on a couple of stamps also this has been depicted. You'll see like this, as I have mentioned, there are 37 of these towers with 200 faces of Lokeshwara. So once you enter, you'll see this Buddha lying, and on, see, that's the depth. I mean, this is captured maybe 10 to 20% of the depth. There are multiple doors. You keep going on and on and on, and you'll be seeing multiple towers at multiple levels with these faces. And these are all the various inscriptions of Apsaras. So basically, they believed a lot in Apsaras, and Apsaras were considered, they were synonymous with angels. So they were the damsels between humans and the gods. So they considered them that way. And you'll see a lot of murals having this Apsaras depicted. Apsaras, Garuda, snake, and some activities of what happens in the temple are usually documented. So although, so I think what is a key point to emphasize is Jayavarman VII converted to Buddhism, but that doesn't mean he threw out the Hindu, because after him, subsequently other Hindu kings came, but they accommodated each other, because as you see, this linga was still maintained there. It was not like linga was completely removed. So they placed the linga. So if you read the history, it time and again reiterates that Buddhism and Hinduism coexisted. It was not at cost of one another. So they did allow Hinduism also to prevail along with Buddhism, although predominantly he was following Buddhism. So you could see multiple of these lingas, which are all obviously damaged due to natural elements. So again, see, you'll see multiple of these towers, which has these four faces, all depicting Lokeshwara. So you'll see like these towers, and it takes around 1 hour to just see this site beyond. It's quite gigantic. So you'll see these are all taken once I've entered into that temple. Once you enter, it takes you to multiple stages. So that's my second son. You'll see these apsaras carved everywhere. So again, there's another one somewhere else. So these are all the inscriptions. So you will see typical Indian representation of lion and few other elements. So again, an apsara, I think. So that's how it looks. These are all the different columns. Then we had a structure next to it, which is called as library. And every temple, what it signified was, any major temple, there was a place just next to the temple, which is identified as library, where the monks or the Hindu priests used to sit, and they used to practice their practice their Vedas, or um, practice their whatever literature they had to read and impart education or teaching and other things. So library was always there next to at least the major temples that I could see. So this was the library at that point of time. So this is called Elephant Corridor. So I don't know why they called elephant. So that Beyond Temple, near that they had this. So where there are multiple elephants carved on the thing. So you can see a lot of elephant carved. And I think this is all called Elephant Corridor with lot of carvings that are around. So I was telling about the importance to the snakes. So as I said, they have multiple of these serpents depicted everywhere, and the serpents are depicted either as a single head, and as you see, this is three, four, I think seven head, 3, 5, 7 headed serpents is what they have depicted in all temples, and of course these lions or whatever. So this is elephant corridor. So these are various sculptures that are sculpted in that Bayon temple. So most of it depicting some royal court people and some women. So these are all the carvings on the temple there. So after we finished Bayon, we went to this temple called Priyakan temple. So Priyakan has nothing to do with Muslim. It's called Priyaka temple. Priyaka means holy sword. It was called holy sword in 1191. So this temple was built for Jayavarman VII to honor his father. So I think their culture at that point of time was to build the temple for the king. One temple which signifies king's temple, and he would build temples for his parents, father, grandfather, grandmother, or like that. So this temple was built for his father, Jayavarman's father, and the presiding deity was Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, which again is a Buddhist element to signify compassion to all the human beings. So this temple, there is a record on the steel which said they had around 100,000 officials and servants in this temple, with 1,000 dancers and teachers. So basically, the temple activity appeared like they had a lot of teaching happening, and there was a lot of dancers who were performing various dances there, and there was a lot of priestly activities, some rituals that was happening. So this is what they could capture from the inscriptions they had. So as you see again, this is the entrance of the temple, Priyakan, and you would see any entrance of the temple, you will see a lot of these stone lineup of either a snake or any of these asuras or devas or any of these pillars you would see. So I think when you go to this Cambodia, always carry a water, have an umbrella or a hat, because it's quite warm. Although it's fully surrounded with greenery, it is important that you're protected well because it's quite hot. I mean, you can, and we went in at a time where it is much pleasant, which is December. But even then, I was feeling it is hot. So and always carry a book, because there are a lot of books that are available on the temples, because you'll appreciate the wonder of those temples much better when you read the books. So that's the Priyakan temple. As you see, any temple you won't see one building. There's always multitude of it. So if you see this is the entrance, and inside also there'll be multiple of these sort of temples which will be there. And as you see, this is a Garuda. So as I said, every temple will have either a snake or Garuda and snake or one of these elements. So I think all the conservation project is happening from a fund called World Monument Fund, which is obviously managed by USA, but there are around 11 countries involved in restoration of these structures in Cambodia, and India is also one of them. So predominantly the countries involved are the eastern countries like Japan, Korea, India, and USA, France, because Cambodia is ruled by French. So there are around 11 to 12 countries which put the fund in this World Monument Fund, and all the restoration work happens under Apsara project. So they have named the project as Apsara. And as I said, you enter any temple, you have these people who are maimed in the war or during Khmer Rouge rule, who are playing this music, and they'll be selling their music. So it's a sort of raising fund for their livelihood. So this is the Priyaka temple. So that's the entrance. So as I said, there will be multiple doors in the temple, and the depth is quite humongous. Because from outside you'll just see it as a three big temples, but once you enter, you'll keep going on and on and on. There'll be multiple doors with multiple towers and multiple carvings inside. So and as you see, that's the depth, and it will go further. It will lead to other areas. So that's my son sitting. So you can see Apsaras carved there. So that's an idol of I think someone whose head is. I think all this destruction you see is of natural destruction. It's not destroyed by any. I was told some of the heads have been taken by people who have plundered to sell it off in black markets. So it's not out of any with an intent to destroy. It is with an intent to make money in the black market, or the natural elements have destroyed the structure. So that was the roof, where you can see how the stones are aligned to gain stability for these temples. So I think as you see, this is possibly a place where Linga was there, Shivling, because you will see the structure similar to that. And see, every place I went, you'll see lingas. So that's why I made a mention. I think Shaivism was something that peaked. Shaivism means Shiva worship I think, was at the height during that time, 11th century. So although Jayavarman San was a Buddhist, but still you see he incorporated Hindu thoughts at that point of time. He did not remove the previous people who believed in Shaivism, because I'm sure in his own kingdom many of them followed Hinduism. So he did accept, and they both coexisted. Even when I read that history, it did mention there was a clear indication that both coexisted during that time. So these are all intricately carved, sort of a pillars and all these apsaras which are carved. And this is a restoration work to prevent the walls from collapsing. And I'm told these are all the spiritual masters or gurujis or teachers who are carved in the temple. And I was talking about the depth, Allah. So you'll see this. I think there are multiple doorways which will lead to multiple areas with multiple towers inside. And this is the stupa, Buddhist stupa that was there in the Priyakan temple. And this is a linga which is there. So they both coexisted in a temple. So what I'm trying to say is, if it, although they were following Buddhism, it doesn't mean only Buddha remained there. So they had lingas and Buddhist statues as well, and probably worship of both was happening simultaneously. I think these are again all the wall carvings. So inside that Priyakon, so this was the structure of Jayaraja Devi, who was the first wife of Jayavarman VII, which was put there because she died. So they had to put a idol of her or icon of her, and that was worshipped during his time. And he married her elder sister Indra Devi after she died. So these are all the nice carvings you'll see. There's a lot of carvings, intricate carvings that have happened. So throughout the structure, none of the surface will be plain. So there will be always some element of carvings. And it is hard for us to interpret each and every carving, but it will be predominantly some court activity or some men, some soldiers, or some ladies dancing. So it will be of that sort. So again, I showed you in Bayon there was a library. Even in Priyakan there is a library next to it. So which means to say, even when I read that book by David Chandler about the history of Cambodia, there was a lot of educational activities that was happening. Maybe training of the younger people in the priestly activities or reading religious texts. I think all this was happening simultaneously during that time. So again, that's the temple. And I think what you will see, I think you would wonder why these temples were destroyed. So these temples were completely surrounded in jungle. So there were, it was and it was only identified by a Frenchman in 1870s, and then the whole restoration work happened. And the whole destruction predominantly happened because of natural elements, and that was because of these trees. So these trees are a sister of banyan tree. Basically, they're called strangler fig tree. So basically, it's all the roots that go and engulf and they'll break the walls. Or some of them are silk cotton tree and thick pop trees. But predominantly, it is the strangler fig tree. The name itself will say it will strangle and it will break. So they can literally break any monument or any structure. So that was the second day. So then the second day ends with this gondola ride. So this is the moat outside the whole temple complex. Beyond temple, we enter on the bridge. We go on the bridge, which has this water, and once we come back from the temple, these are traditional boats. Possibly the kings were using, called gondola boats. So they take you on a nice sort of a water ride on those gondola boats. So we went on that boat ride, and that boat ride is taken to see the sunset. So this is the sunset you see with a background of temple on the other side. So this is sun is setting in the west, so temple is in the east, and this water is in between. So it's a nice sunset. So they'll take you on that boat, gondola boat, which we went in the evening. And see, these are all the line of boats that are coming back after the sunset. So I think then evening, once we finished gondola ride, we went to the dinner. So dinner, I think there is this man, Sin Sisamut, who lived in 1935 to 1976. This was a photo capture from the restaurant where we went. So he is considered one of the legendary musician in Cambodia. He is considered one of the gods of music, like Elvis Presley, if you have to compare, or our Mohammad Rafi or any of us. So he's like that for Cambodia, or Kishore Kumar. So he's like Kishore Kumar of Cambodia. And very sad thing is, you see, in a young age, he was murdered or he was killed by Khmer Rouge people. And I will talk about it in my subsequent video as to why they killed all these people. So then we go to his restaurant called Easy Speaking. And the food, the second day we had was barbecue. So barbecue is also a very popular food of Cambodia. So basically for vegetarians this may not look very appealing, so they give you food like this. So basically it had fish, it had chicken, and it had other elements, and they give you all these vegetables and other things. So basically they give you a barbecue like this. So you have to heat it yourself. They'll put oil and water and other things. So you have to cook yourself, and they'll give you sauces, and you have to eat it. So this is considered, uh, one of their main dish, like barbecue dish. So and this is very common. And this restaurant was rated as very good. Easy speaking restaurant. The restaurant name is Easy Speaking. That was rated as very good restaurant for this. So I enjoyed it. So I think my wife and others did not really like this because it's little bland for Indians. You cook it on a barbecue like this, and you eat it with sauces and with rice. So I think that was my second day. So I'll play this music by Dixon Cinnamon, and I'll end this first 2 days of my Cambodia. So this was the song by this guy Sing Samut. He's considered as a legendary singer in Cambodia.
បំណាច់ចិនស្នេហ៍ស្ទើរតែលេខបានស្ទើរតែលេខបានចំពោះបលយានប្រាស់បងលែងគិតបងត្រូវតស៊ូលុសូនជីវិតលុសូនជីវិតមិនឲ្យវាស្និទ្ធរវេសបានគេអូនល្អទាំងអស្រស់មានតបណែស្រស់មានតបណែពេញចឹងអំណាចដូចមេឃនឹងខ្លា
Alright, so that's about my 2 days of Cambodia. So the next 2 days I will cover in the next video. So thank you for watching.